What's up, gang? Today we're talking about Qusay Hussein, the second son of Saddam Hussein, the mad dog dictator of Iraq. Qusay had been working for his father in small jobs in internal security when his big break came. Iraq's Shiite Muslims, who make up a majority in the country but have long been repressed by the minority Sunnis, revolted against the regime in dozens of cities when Gulf War I ended. Saddam gave Qusay broad authority to oversee the crushing of the uprising. He did not entirely delegate the task. An eyewitness recalls watching Qusay, dressed in grey trousers and a blue jacket, arrive in Sura, where armed guards herded 300 Shiite detainees onto a field. The president's son, dangling a pistol in his right hand, walked up to the men and shot 4 of them in the head, according to a military officer at the scene. As he pulled the trigger, Qusay screamed out, "Bad people! Dirty criminals!" Qusay then ordered the execution of the remaining prisoners, got into his car and drove back to Baghdad. It was just one of many Shiite exterminations that Qusay ordered or personally performed in 1991, the ex-officer told Time. The same source, one of Qusay's security commanders, said Qusay, for example, directed the execution of 15 families in Saddam City, a Shiite enclave in Baghdad. His loyalty and ruthlessness proved Qusay would move on to other assignments. He became commander of the Republican Guard and head of the Special Security Organization, which was part secret police, part security detail for Saddam and part umbrella group for his elite military forces. Before the regime collapsed, Qusay was widely regarded as the second most powerful man in Iraq. Uday held less impressive posts. Apart from heading the Olympic Committee, he supervised various Iraqi media outlets and oversaw the Fedayeen Saddam, a ragtag band of armed militants, mostly ex-felons, that eventually became part of Saddam's security apparatus. Whereas Qusay would icily and efficiently murder for his father to further a political aim, his brother pursued a brand of terror that was personal, arbitrary and spontaneous. He was a threat to any father whose daughter might cross his path, to the women themselves, even to his own friends, who, it turns out, were subjected to torture and humiliation at his hands just as his perceived enemies were. Uday demonstrated an insatiable sexual appetite. 5 nights a week, some 24 girls, all of them referred to him by his friends, were taken to the posh Baghdad boat club on the bank of the Tigris to meet Uday, close associates of his confirm. After drinks, music and dancing, the young women would be lined up like beauty queens for Uday's approval, and all but 1 or 2 would be dismissed. Those who stayed would join Uday in his bedroom at the club and leave with a gift of 250,000 dinars, $125, gold jewelry or sheer lingerie. He never slept with a girl more than 3 times, says a former butler. He was very picky. Uday took 2 days a week off from girls. He called it fasting, his close associates say. A chef at Baghdad's exclusive hunting club recalls a wedding party that Uday crashed in the late 1990s. After Uday left the hall, the bride, a beautiful woman from a prominent family, went missing. The bodyguards closed all the doors, didn't let anybody out, the chef remembers. Women were yelling and crying, "What happened to her?" The groom knew. He took a pistol and shot himself, says the chef, placing his forefinger under his chin. Last October another bride, 18, was dragged, resisting, into a guardhouse on one of Uday's properties, according to a maid who worked there. The maid says she saw a guard rip off the woman's white wedding dress and lock her, crying, in a bathroom. After Uday arrived, the maid heard screaming. Later she was called to clean up. The body of the woman was carried out in a military blanket, she said. There were acid burns on her left shoulder and the left side of her face. The maid found bloodstains on Uday's mattress and clumps of black hair and peeled flesh in the bedroom. A guard told her, "Don't say anything about what you see, or you and your family will be finished." Although Uday had no children, Qusay's marriage resulted in 4 kids, and he projected the image of a family man. An officer in the Republican Guard who reported to him says he occasionally took 2 of his sons to the unit's headquarters. If he didn't have an important meeting, he would sometimes play with them there. Still, Qusay did have mistresses, according to associates. They say he was discreet about them and would return home to his wife every night. At Aldora, his farm across the Tigris from the boat club, Qusay would throw parties that were like the Arabian Nights, says Salman Abdullah, who worked there as a gardener. The fetes featured as many as 50 belly dancers and ample whiskey and caviar. Qusay enjoyed the sight of the belly dancers and other performers but refused to touch them for fear of disease, says Abdullah. Germs were an obsession of Qusay's, according to a family retainer who says Saddam's younger son did not like to be touched. If friends or colleagues kissed him in the typical Arab greeting, he would immediately go to the bathroom to wash his face. If one of his kids touched him, says the source, he would call a cleaner to brush it off. Uday, according to a family friend, said he didn't want children. Automobiles were his babies, and he was particularly fond of European sports models. Cars were also currency for Uday. He demanded them as gifts from friends who owed him favors, and he took them from rivals who owed him nothing, according to a Baghdad businessman. One family friend says Uday had a staffer whose sole job was to surf the internet and fill 3-ring binders for him with pictures of new and rare vehicles, along with Arabic translations of their specifications. Uday reportedly used underground parking garages in his various businesses around Baghdad to store his hundreds and hundreds of cars. When the city was about to fall to US-led forces, Uday instructed the Fedayeen Saddam to torch his cars rather than let anyone else take them. Uday exhibited a vain streak. A family friend notes that he scouted for clothes in the Italian fashion magazine Luma Vogue and on the internet. He went for anything odd, just to stand out, says the source. According to a friend, if someone appeared with the same kind of shoes as Uday's, he would tell them not to wear that pair again. The same was true of his favorite cologne, Angel, says a family friend. The source also says that for the sake of